Because we care about getting the alphabet accurate here, we're going to go to the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're key free agents. I was tempted to say nobody, but I think Taurean Prince is actually a key free agent for them. There's Jake Layman with full bird rights, and then Josh Okogie. I wonder if they even tender him a qualifying offer. He's restricted. Jalen Noel and Naz Reid both have team options. Those will be exercised. Karl-Anthony Towns, to me, is their most notable extension candidate, and I think you absolutely offer it to him and don't give regard for, yes, if it turns into like the mega max, so be it. Karl-Anthony Towns is good enough. Best spending tool is going to be the non-taxpayer MLE, which actually gives them a lot more, money to spend on the free agent market than a lot of other teams. And just biggest needs priorities for you. I'm actually, I do find myself wondering whether this team is going to be ultra aggressive on the trade market because Tim Connolly wants to leave his mark on what they're doing. And we saw them get creative on draft night. I kind of wonder, my actual question is not free agent related, is do you think they have a bigger move left in them? And what do you actually view their biggest needs as? Because I think the default has been to diversify like the front court packages next to Towns. And it's weird to say because I think Jared Vanderbilt was fantastic defensively for them last year, but it feels like they need a substantially better player at that spot than him, or you need like a better 3 if we're considering Anthony Edwards a 2.
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, the biggest decision is the extension, for Towns, which I agree they got to do. I think the other thing they're going to look at, and I don't think it'll just be Connolly wanting to make a mark, but just operating kind of practically is, are you going to extend D'Angelo Russell? And if you are, what's that look like? And if you're not, which I think you probably shouldn't, based on what his market may be in terms of salary, what do you trade him for? And I think maybe again, this is a free agency thing, but I think that's your best path towards sort of, like you said, diversifying your options next to Towns, or at least just kind of filling in between Cat and Anthony Edwards as your like kind of your bookends. I think, and listen, like connected to the Russell issue is, do we think Anthony Edwards is a primary ball handler? Like, can he sort of step into the Harden, Booker sometimes role where it's like he's the initiator? I don't know. I'm kind of optimistic about everything with this guy, and I wouldn't put it past him, but I think that's a consideration with moving Russell, because like you could really take a step backwards in terms of your offense, even with as much talent as they have, if you just don't have someone to sort of hand out 7 assists and not turn it over, which is basically what Russell could do. And
he was good last year. Yeah,
he was. Yeah. I mean, he's not my favorite guy, just because I think he's not quite efficient enough, generally speaking, but like he was a good player last year. So
he's also tight, I think, which matters with Karl-Anthony Towns, which I feel like I'm definitely guilty of. I don't weight relationships enough when I'm talking about what teams should do.
Right.
I'm like, fuck it, move him.
Yeah, I'm not paying him $31 million, over the next 3 or 4 years. I like Washington as a trade partner. I know they drafted Johnny Davis. I think Russell makes sense there. The Knicks were another team that when you're making up fake trades, that's another spot you send them just because they need a point guard. But like to Washington, if you're going to get back something like some combination of like KCP and Kyle Kuzma, or I'm not the biggest Hachimura fan, but like adding a little bit of volume and like quality starters into the middle of that, so that if you want to put more shooting out there than Vanderbilt and McDaniels can give you, you can. I think Kuzma can play the 4, like just spitballing, but I think that's the type of move I'm looking at with Russell. So I mean, I don't want to like oversaturate with jumping around, but like then free agency wise, if you're not going to, cover your bases with a Russell trade, I just think you need someone that's better than Naz Reid to play some center minutes. So like maybe that's Kevon Looney. I think Hartenstein, if you got the full mid level and you're willing to use it, that's someone you could definitely look at. On the cheaper end, where you're, like Cody Zeller, Gorgie Jang, bring him back.
What about
Dwight Howard? Trot him out there, see what happens. Like,
I was gonna say, what about? And by the way, there's like this sentiment that they can't sign another big type because that's not how you should use Karl-Anthony Towns. Karl-Anthony Towns played like 8 trillion minutes alongside Taj Gibson at one point, and he was still fire. The name I thought, and this isn't going to surprise you, it's coming, right? Chris Boucher.
Get 2 shooters out there. Why not?
That's just like, I guess you probably don't trust him like defensively enough to cover for Karl-Anthony Towns. He's more of a playmaker than an actual anchor on that end of the floor. I would love it though. I'd fave that signing.
Yeah, I think, well, just like if you're gonna have suspect defenders, they might as well be long, right? Like, so at least you're gonna cover for some of that by just taking up space. And if you got two guys that can maybe get you some help side blocks, great. Your pick and roll defense is gonna suck, but you can work around that. I totally agree. You need another big guy. You want both, right? You want someone that you can stretch the floor, and you want someone that can defend. You want someone with size that can play backup 5 minutes. I mean, Towns has generally been a really durable player, but I think it behooves them to add like an actual center. And like, it's scary in the way that money gets spent in the modern NBA, but you might have to do more than the minimum to get someone that's actually going to make a difference. And if you're not, then I guess you're going to rely on Naz Reid for another year.
This is along those same lines, and look, free agency targets for them was a little tough because it's actually easier to come up with like bigs for them than if you wanted to get like a combo wing or straight four. They could be a team that looks at Otto Porter if they really wanted to. I gave Kyle Anderson some cursory thought here, not along the big man route, but just as like a really smart wing. What if you could? I wanted to catch you off guard with this. Let's say you can sign DeLon Wright or Tyus Jones. Let's say you can sign either one of them. Would you do D'Angelo Russell for Marcus Morris and Norman Powell?
And I'm getting either Jones or DeLon Wright.
My thing is you're signing another point guard. I just don't know. Like, those are the 2 point guards that I think are worth the actual mid-level money. Like, those are the two. Let's be honest. If we assume Jalen Brunson is going to get paid way too much money by the Knicks or if he stays with the Mavericks, I mean, Kyrie Irving, if you're the Clippers and you think you're going to be in the running for that, like, take those two guys out of the equation. Is Tyus Jones the best point guard on the market?
I mean, I think he's at the top of my list. I think he is, right? Like,
yeah, I'm not being facetious. I think that is the actual case.
Yeah, no, I would do that. I think I'd do that. I like the volume play there. I like you're getting, multiple. Although I wonder, are you starting Powell and Edwards as your backcourt, or are you starting? I would take Jones probably over Wright. Are you going to start?
I think you start Jones. You could bring. Look, you still kind of need to fill the. I guess they consider Jaden McDaniels a 3. So, but you could mix and match with, if you have Norman Powell and Marcus Morris coming off the bench, or maybe Vanderbilt gets moved to the bench, you're starting Morris at the 4, and then you have Powell and Beverly coming off the bench. But I think you start Edwards, Tyus, and Towns for sure, and then you can kind of, finagle from there.
Kind of like that team. You
what do you think about it for the Clippers, though?
Well, they do need, it addresses a need for them, and they're dealing from a position of strength because they're like the only team that has more wings than they can actually play. Or wings and combo forwards. I don't know. I think Powell and Morris. I think I'd probably do that if I'm the Clippers, because Russell addresses their main need, which is just someone to run the offense that's not basically a power forward.
I felt my gut was the Clippers would say no, because I think Norman Powell is like, he's under contract for longer at an affordable number, but at the same time, that contract clearly wasn't valued around the league based off what the Blazers ended up moving him for. But I would love him in Minnesota. You imagine Norman Powell and Anthony Edwards, like the same downhill pressure that they're providing in the same unit. I'm glad that you didn't hate it. I assumed that you were going to laugh at me, but I wanted to catch you off guard.
That's fun. And well, just as you're listing off a bunch of, your Vanderbilts and McDaniels and Pat Bev, like, are the Wolves going to be really good? Like, I view them as an up and coming team, but like, if Edwards really pops, which I think is honestly more likely than not,
he is like, the thing that would make me comfortable about moving D'Angelo Russell while only replacing him with a Tyus Jones type, or even if you went worse than Tyus Jones, Anthony Edwards is going to be an incredible offensive engine at some point, not just for himself, but the reads that he could make, and the way that he keeps defenders on tilt, and the way that I think I had some issues with the Wolves' late clock offense or crunch time offense, but he also doesn't seem uncomfortable toggling between, I'm off the ball, or I needed to defer here, or no, this is me. Like, I'm going to go for this. And I appreciate, I don't know if you can call it feel yet, because he and the rest of the Wolves need to distinguish between what's right, but this was year 2.
Yeah.
And he's someone who all of a sudden, I wasn't super confident in him coming out of college. I just look at him like, that might be a future top 5 player in this league.
No, I did recently the top 10 guy who's going to be, if we're looking back 5 years from now, who's going to be the top 10 players over that 5 year span, like basically from now till 27.
Where did you
And I
have
put
Cade Cunningham?
yeah, yeah. Oh, can I use this platform to say sorry? I forgot Cade Cunningham among the 40 guys I considered for honorable mention. He definitely belongs in there. But I put Edwards 10th, and as I look back at it, I feel like that might be too low. Like I think it's a question of when, because he's athletically unlimited. He improved a lot last year. I think it's just a question of like how much craft is he going to develop, and that's tied directly to can he be our primary ball handler like now, so that trading Russell is just like, well, Russell was just in the way at this point. So we might as well go get our Norm Powell and our Marcus Morris. So yeah, we've had to have gone over now just gushing for
We're actually right within the limits, but I think that there are a bunch of different routes that they could go in free agency, because I think they have look, you could move Malik Beasley and try something different through that route. I think there are teams that would still look at his salary and be like, all right, around 15 million bucks for this player. Didn't have the best season last year, but yeah, we could pay that. So I think their focus could be whatever it wants, but I'd be looking at, can we get a 3 or maybe even just more of a 4 who's an upgrade from Vanderbilt, so that we don't have to even consider playing McDaniels at the 3, because they clearly don't want to do that.
Yep.